Hi, David. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on.
Hey, thanks for talking to me on the day before the 4th of July. I'm actually looking forward to the 4th of July. I'm sure you are as well.
Yes, I have one foot out the door, so
Right. Um,
but I'm always excited about the topic of sales performance. So
I know you're an expert in this field. You've worked for a number of years. Would you maybe like to quickly introduce yourself and tell us what you do and what does Tenbound do?
yeah, so Tenbound is a research and advisory firm that really focuses on improving sales performance. And so we actually work with companies on improving their sales process and working with their teams to, increase their performance level. And we also do a lot of research on the industry to see, what are the top, especially the tech tools and resources that people are using to increase their performance. And so, very, very relevant to what we're talking about today.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I'm very excited to dig into this topic. David, we've been working on Amelino for about a year, and I talked to a lot of CROs, and one recurring theme that I'd love to get your take on is this whole concept of cognitive overload. I've heard cognitive overload in the sense that there's just so much information out there across multiple applications that sellers kind of get, they're kind of like a deer in the headlights thing. It slows down their sales cycle and all that stuff. Does any of this resonate with you? Or what's your take on all of this?
Yeah, it's a really good way to put it because, with the all the proliferation of information that's out there and tools that are able to help salespeople to perform better, it's kind of a two-sided, the other side of the coin in that there's so much information, there's so many tools, there's so much, advice and different voices coming at salespeople that what we see a lot is that they struggle to, make sense and contextualize all the tools and information that they have, and then be able to help themselves to improve their performance based on all the information that's coming at them. So yeah, it's a huge problem.
Is this problem, David, caused mostly because there's just now more places where a seller can search for information? Is this problem caused because, companies use multiple enterprise applications? Like what are some of the causes of all of this?
I mean, taking it way back, we went from a world where there was not enough information really, and so
Uh-huh.
salespeople were out there kind of on an island, and it was almost more of an art than a science, to be able to perform as a salesperson. And now we've sort of gone the opposite way, where sales has so much science, implemented, and people are trying to engineer the sales process so much that the attention span of a human being is not long enough to be able to integrate all the information that's out there and make it useful. And so salespeople, they're doing their best to utilize the information and make it impactful to their sales processes, but they just really struggle to be able to not get distracted and kind of, as you said, a deer in the headlights, in order to be able to use it to increase their performance.
I'm reminded of my own personal experience when I was at Barracuda Networks, and I don't think this is very atypical, but when I was there, we had information about about customers, about product in Slack, in emails. We of course had Salesforce.com. We had our own internal ERP system. There's just like and then, of course, you'd have to look into a PowerPoint file or something to look at, learn about the latest features and things like that. I felt like every time I had to pick up the phone and talk to a customer, I'd have to look up like six different places just to make sure that I wasn't missing any critical piece of information. So this whole idea of the attention spans and time, like, there's only 24 hours in a day, that totally resonates with me. It's just
Yeah.
crazy.
It is, and I think that the next wave of support for salespeople will be to be able to contextualize information, simplify it, and make it actionable. And so you go from this deer in the headlights situation where there's all this information, all these tools, 100 different tabs open on their computer, to a simple pane of glass where it's useful information that they need right now that's pulled in from all the different systems that they have. And one thing that I think that the popularity of ChatGPT has been just the fact that you can take the natural language that you bring in your head on what information that you need right now, pulls together, and it's contextualized and actionable. And that's, I think that's where you see the tools going for salespeople.
Now, you very well said, very well said. A couple of weeks back, I was talking to somebody that ran inside that they were the senior director of SDR team at a fairly large publicly traded firm. This is a 1,300-person firm, publicly traded, and they were just telling me that what's happening in their environment is because there's so many places for a seller to search for information, their sellers just took so long to get back to customers that they would lose these deals because, I think the cliche is true here, time kills all deals. I wonder, is this something you've seen in other companies, or is this like a very typical scenario just in that company, or is this like a industry-wide problem?
Oh, I mean, so I look at it from 2 points of view. We work with a lot of inside sales and SDRs on their performance, and we also work with the executives to try to figure out how to dashboard and understand and increase the performance. And if you're out there and you're managing an inside sales or an SDR team, you would be shocked how much of the day is not being used for the key reason that you hired these people. And what I mean is, people are out, and especially in a remote environment where people are working from home and there's no sales floor like there used to be. People are working like maybe 1 or 2 hours per day on the actual job that they're being hired for, and the rest of the day is either spent trying to sift through all the information and the tools to be able to do something productive, or just messing around because it's so easy to get distracted and start doing your laundry or start doing something else while you're working at home. It's an absolute, from a time to value ratio of the investment that you're putting into inside sales and SDRs, it's shocking how much waste is happening right now.
Wow, it's an amazing insight, and you're right. Like it's two different root causes. One is that it's very easy to kind of get distracted when you're working from home, and yeah, more and more the old sales bullpen is kind of going away. Maybe it'll come back. We never know. But it's easy to get distracted when you're working from home. But also this whole concept of this cognitive overload. You're right. So there's two different root causes. Well
Yeah.
said. Well said. Um, this person was this person that I was talking to also told me that um, a lot of times because information is scattered, there's be a little bit of information about the product in Slack. There'll be some of it in a PowerPoint file that some product marketing guy had sent. Their sellers would often send information that's a little bit outdated, not deliberately, not in a malfeasance kind of way, but just because nobody can keep up with the amount of information a modern organization produces, their sellers would often send incorrect and outdated information, and that caused problems with their ability to close deals. I mean, what do you think of that?
Oh yeah, huge problem, in that you never know as a salesperson what is the latest collateral and information that you can use to be able to move the deal along. It's all scattered in different places. Again, it's very easy to start digging through the systems and trying to figure out what would be the appropriate follow up for a prospect, and get distracted and go down a rabbit hole. And then what we see a lot is salespeople just they go to the same thing that they just send on every follow up, and it's just sort of a generic piece of content or a case study or something like that, because they don't know where to even start to pull in some of the information that they need to be able to close the deal. So
It's probably worse. I guess it's worse for both an experienced seller because they might be stuck in their ways of where do they get information, and it's probably bad as well for the new guy in the team because they don't even know who to approach. So I guess it's kind of bad both ways for both the experienced guy and the new person,
yeah. Yeah, and I think that there's a critical piece missing. If I was talking to that CRO who you mentioned, I
right?
would say go out in the field, or if they're in the office, and sit with your salespeople for a day. Just
Mm,
sit down and ride along and see what they do.
mm.
Look at their process, because I they will be shocked. They're absolutely shocked in how much time is spent either digging through information, trying to process information, doing internal meetings and training and stuff like that, and not actually, you know,
Selling.
selling. Yeah, it's crazy. And the remote, like I said, the remote push that's happened over the last couple of years has accelerated that to a shocking amount. And I think 1 or 2 days of going out and witnessing how people are working right now would really guide the next steps for improving the performance for that CRO.
I'm sure that would be an eye-opening experience. I'm
Yeah.
sure. One thing that just I'm starting to wrap my head around. I'm just digging into it more and more, and it's a very pervasive theme. Is the CRM, your Salesforce, HubSpots of the world, is never as accurate as what the CRO would like it to be. On the flip side, I constantly hear from sellers, individual sellers, is you know updating the CRM is just a pain in their backside, so to speak. I mean, it feels like there's a tension in the system. The organization wants you to do more and update more, and then the seller just finds it as friction. I don't know if there is a good way to resolve that tension here, David.
Yeah, I think that's going to be an evergreen problem that not to be pessimistic, but those problems are probably never going to be completely solved 100%. But they do create a huge opportunity for um, you know sales technology vendors to come and try to increase the ability for salespeople to do that. And so you see, like, Zoom Info is a great example of playing on that tension that exists and building a multi-billion-dollar company based on trying to close that gap. I don't think it's ever going to be completely solved, but there's a huge opportunity for people to come and try to help solve that for customers.
I would just say that,
Yeah.
the number of times I've heard that problem mentioned, it just going by that, I think this is a massive opportunity for startups, for entrepreneurs, for anybody that is looking to solve this problem, for sure.
Yeah. And just a quick note on that, if you go back 20 years, there was no category for sales technology. It was just
Yeah.
really started by when Salesforce made traction in online CRM. But there's been a whole industry created to try to make sales more efficient and effective, and it definitely has helped. I mean, it's a huge The with all the technology that's come out, it has made a huge difference, and it will continue. But I think we've just scratched the surface, because all these tools have come out to help, and now there's so many point solutions that salespeople have. Like our last research study, 65% of the company's research had over 5 sales tools plugged in for their sales team. So I think that the next step in the evolution of this will be to provide clarity and simplicity to the salespeople to just make it actionable and make their jobs easier, versus trying to juggle all these different solutions.
That's yeah, that's very true. Well, I really appreciate the time you spent talking to me. If anybody here that's listening wants to get in touch with you or with Tenbound, or maybe look at that report that you mentioned, your research study, how would they do that, David?
Yeah, the best way is just go to tenbound.com and get on the newsletter. That's where we aggregate all the different research and programs that we're working on each week, and we can keep in touch there.
Well, I mean, I personally am really interested in that report, so I'm just going to go after this to tenbound.com because I do want to read that research report. So I'll do that. Well, once again,
Um,
absolute pleasure talking to you. You had some really good insights, and thank you so much, David.